If you're here, say hello. If you're on the replay, say hashtag replay, and any highlights that come up for you. If you receive something, put it in the chat, or just say it out loud. Something that if you get an insight and you say it again, it creates neurocreativity in the brain, neuroplastic changes for what you do want and what you don't want. So, but I've noticed something, and perhaps you have too. When the Olympics come around, or the World Cup, we see incredible feats of human behavior and endeavor celebrated everywhere. Gold medals, roaring crowds, gleaming trophies, slow motion replays, people standing to applaud. We celebrate physical strength, the precision, the discipline, the sheer will to kick a ball in a net, to cross a finish line, or hold the body under pressure for one more second. And rightly so. Those are extraordinary achievements. They are visible, they are measurable, and they are easy to recognize. But I keep wondering, what about the victories we cannot see? What about the quiet, internal, deeply courageous wins that happen behind closed doors? Where are the gold medals for getting through a severe mental health crisis? Where are the roaring crowds for choosing self-compassion instead of self-sabotage? Where is the trophy for taking one tiny, honest step after years of mental noise? Where is the applause for the person overcoming addiction or rebuilding trust with themselves or learning how to regulate their body when the world has felt so unsafe for them? This is not a critique on sport. This is an inquiry. It is a question about what we as a society choose to recognize, value, and celebrate. Because some of the most extraordinary victories do not happen on a podium. They happen in kitchens, in bedrooms, and therapy rooms, and recovery meetings, and in voice notes you almost deleted, in emails you finally sent, in the moment you chose not to abandon yourself. And for many of us, especially brilliant, sensitive, neurodivergent, creative minds, this question hits differently because you have you may have spent years fighting battles that no one else could see. You may have been winning victories that nobody ever clapped for. You may have been carrying a level of internal effort that the outside world never recognized. And that can be deeply painful because when your brain works differently, when your nervous system processes the world with heightened sensitivity, the internal landscape can feel like a battlefield. The world is often not built for the natural rhythms of creative minds. It's not built for your cadence. It's not built for your creativity. It's not built for your recovery time. It's not built for your way of seeing patterns. So you learn to mask, you learn to push through, you learn to perform normal. You learn to explain less. You learn to hide how much effort ordinary things can take. And eventually that can lead to burnout. And it's not because you are weak And not because you're lazy, not because you're broken, but because you have been trying to thrive inside systems that were not designed for your wiring. And the story we were often taught does not help. We were taught that strength means pushing through, that success means more output, that leadership means being confident, clear, and consistent, and always ready. We are taught that vulnerability is risky and that rest is indulgent, that safety is a problem and sensitivity is a problem, that if something feels hard, we just need to try harder. But that story celebrates the external sprint and completely misses the internal marathon. And when you are trying to create a sustainable life, a meaningful business, a visible body of work, or a contribution that actually matters, that old story can make you feel deeply out of sync. You can start to believe there is something wrong with you. You can start to believe your brilliance is too messy, or your ideas are too complex, or your feelings are too big, your pace too consistent, inconsistent, even. Your mind is too much, and the stakes are not small. Because when people feel broken, they hide. When they hide, their work stays private. And when their work stays private, their contribution never fully lands. And that is a real loss, not just for them, but for the people who need what they carry. I know this intimately. For years, I struggled deeply. Social anxiety was a consistent and constant weight to carry, and companion that I just brought with me every room. Mental health challenges felt like a maze, and I could not find my way through. And at one point, I navigated a psychological psychosis crisis. And it was a time of profound internal chaos. And I did not have the language for what was happening. I just thought I was falling and failing, flailing. And I convinced myself I was not a communicator. I was not a business person. I was not someone who could explain things clearly. My ideas were there. They were abundant, flowing non-stop. That didn't mean they didn't fuel. And they were alive. They fueled anything that I was thinking about or feeling. I could feel them. I could sense the patterns. I could make the connections. But translating them into finished work felt impossible. So I blamed myself. I thought, why can everyone else seem to do this? I looked at people in awe at how they could just have a conversation with someone else in a natural way without trying. I was thinking, why can they explain what they do? Why can they make a clear offer of any sort? Why can they put themselves out there? Why does it feel so hard for me? And because the conventional systems did not fit me, I assumed I was the problem. Then at 33, it came a turning point, a diagnosis in dyslexia that I had to insist on the test 3 times just to get the full test to find out. And at first, it could have felt like another label, another thing to manage, another confirmation that something was wrong. But something else happened. It gave me language and it gave me context and it gave me a new way of understanding myself. And that diagnosis became a reframe because I was also studying the way normal brains were structured and functioning at the same time. I knew it wasn't a flaw, luckily. I knew it was a unique learning ability that we all have. It's not a sign I was broken. It's a sign my brain was wired in a different way and a way that needed different systems, different rhythms, different translations, different leadership. And that changed everything because suddenly the question was no longer how do I fix myself? The question became how do I understand myself? How do I work with my own mind? How do I honor my nervous system? How do I translate what I can sense, feel, create, and know into language other people can actually receive? That was not just a personal development moment. Those trainings that I got myself into, that was leadership. It was deep, internal, gold medal worthy leadership. Because true leadership isn't solely about managing others. It's not just about hitting external milestones or simply being visible, impressive, or high performing. Instead, true leadership, I found, always begins inside of the self. It is a courageous act of learning how to lead my mind, your mind. It is understanding your nervous system. It is noticing your patterns. It is noticing and transforming chaos into clarity. It is creating conditions where your inner brilliance can actually thrive. And what does that even mean? It means channeling confidence from a practice point of view, not an expectation point of view. It is knowing when to move, when to pause, when to ask for help, and when to stop forcing yourself through systems that keep harming you. That is leadership. And for the creative, sensitive, neurodivergent people, this kind of leadership is essential because your struggles are not obstacles, they are information. Your overwhelm is information, your procrastination is information, decision paralysis is information, your burnout is information, your avoidance is information, even your repeated patterns around visibility, launching, messaging, or finishing the thing are information. They're simply signals. They are not proof that anyone is failing. They are signals asking for a different kind of support, a different system, a different structure, a different approach to translating your value. This is where neurocreative leadership comes in. For me, neurocreative leadership is about learning to listen differently, not only to thoughts, but because thoughts can be noisy, thoughts can spiral, thoughts can over explain, thoughts can argue with each other all day long. But your body has information too. Your heart has information. Your gut has information. Your nervous system has information. Your intuition has information. Even the tension, the resistance, the fog, the heaviness, or the sudden spark of energy can be information. That is why I use frameworks like the mind model, which brings together somatic intelligence, intuitive intelligence, emotional awareness, and practical direction. This isn't uh, some mystical concept floating away from your real life, but about a grounded, practical approach, something useful, something that helps you make clearer decisions without abandoning your body or burning out your nervous system. Because the goal is not to push harder, the goal is to hear more clearly, to understand your nervous system and understanding what it's saying, to find your own internal compass, your true north, especially when there is so much internal noise. And this matters in business too, because many creative people do not only struggle with the inner world, they struggle with the translation point outwards to the real world. They have the idea, but not the offer. They have the wisdom, but not the words. They have the vision, but not the page, but not on the page. They have the tools, but not the direction. They have AI, templates, platforms, and possibilities. They still do not know what to say, what to build first, or how to invite people in. And that's then imposter syndrome. That's when imposter syndrome gets louder. Perfectionism takes over, and everything becomes another thing to tweak, another page to rebuild, another prompt to test, another reason to delay. But here is what I believe. You do not need to keep fighting your way into visibility. You do not need to build your work by abandoning your wiring. You do not need to become someone else to create a meaningful impact. Instead, there's a way to translate your brilliance without burning out. There's a structure that respects your nervous system. There's clarity that does not crush your creativity. There's support that helps you turn your internal wisdom into external action, like these lives I do. Because your gold medal is not what you've survived, it's what you now know. It is the wisdom you've earned. It is the pattern you can see. It is the compassion you carry. It is the work you are here to bring forwards. And people ask me, can you help me turn this into something? Can you help me make sense of my ideas? Can you help me build this offer, this message, this page, this launch without losing myself in the process? And yes, that is the work. If this resonates, if you've been fighting an unseen battle to bring your inner brilliance into the world, and you're ready for a leadership approach that honors your unique wiring, then I invite you to book a NeuroCreative launch clarity call. And this is not high pressured sales pitch. It's a nervous system safe conversation, an interview, an audit to help you identify where you're at, where your next right step is. We look at where you are now, what wants to emerge, what feels tangled, and what support would actually help. We will explore how to translate your complex ideas into a clear offer, a clear message, a calmer path towards launch. It's not about the hustle or the forcing or the pretending you're fine, but through the clarity, the structure, the self leadership, and a natural rhythm, a unique rhythm that can be tailored, that truly serves you. because I keep wondering what else becomes possible when we start honoring these internal victories. What changes when we celebrate the micro steps of self regulation, that courageous act of asking for help, the boundary you set, the rest you chose, the offer you finally named, the page you finally published, the message you finally shared, the moment you stopped calling yourself broken. Your journey of overcoming, adapting, understanding your wiring, and learning to lead yourself differently is not small. It is your gold medal out of many smaller gold medals. But it's a medal forged in resilience, polished by wisdom, earned through immense courage and safety, structure, and support. And now the invitation is to not only survive, it is to translate what you've learned into meaningful work that can impact the world. So let us begin to give ourselves and each other the quiet, powerful recognition those victories deserve. Let us translate our internal wisdom into external action. Let us build without burning out. Let us remember some of the most extraordinary finish lines are the ones nobody else sees. Thank you.